interesting for all of us to recognize who's in the room, who's here, what's the interest level for copper. I was struggling with the title of my talk. So how do I attract the attention of people? 4 must-own copper stocks for 2018. But first, some fundamentals. That's the important part. Who here recognizes the copper chart and that copper's up 60% in the past 14 months by a show of hands? Thank you. Who here recognizes that copper is decoupled from oil by the same ratio, almost 60%? Thank you. Let's look at some statistics. Many people here that don't know me, I follow this stuff like Harlequin romance. I really enjoy it. I just came back from Chile yesterday. I was up in the mountains at 4,700 meters with 35 other like-minded people. Oscar Landereche, he runs the largest copper company in the world. It's called Codelco, and I think he was maybe misplaced, but he definitely did say that copper could hit $4.50 a pound in the year 2018. Why is that interesting? That's the all-time high of copper, $4.50. $4.50. $10,000 a ton. There's a chart of oil. The all-time high of oil was 140 some odd dollars. But oil is the dominant commodity. 90% of the time, 90% of the time, the other commodities are tethered as a monolithic group. Let me put the price of oil to the price of copper together. Here it is here. Identical. The ups with the ups, the downs with the downs. Copper decoupled from oil, even though oil is now rebounded. The important thing to glean from this graph, all the M&A activity that occurred in oil happened at around $100 a barrel. All the M&A activity, or a lot of it, in the copper space happened at an average price of $3.50 a pound. Copper is $3.20, $3.25 today. The question is, where are we going from here? Why do I keep saying that copper will decouple from most commodities, and specifically oil, in the long run? You can see here, and I think I have a small video, but basically we're going from fossil fuels to electricity. And if my friend will share this short video, it does as good a job as I've ever seen. I really enjoy it. I'm going to see it myself. This is the best one.
What if everything ran on gas? Then again, what if everything didn't?
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we are talking about energy. The only way it is possible to go away from fossil fuels, and I'm not here to make a sermon about climate change and everything else, it's electricity, is demonstrated by this video. Almost everything you buy comes with a cord stuck out the back of it. If you took my presentation back on, please. Thank you very much. This is the most important man in the oil business. His name is Mohammed bin Salman Al Saud. He is the crown prince, no longer deputy crown prince, and he is diversifying the Saudi economy for the long run, and they are investing in things that are run with an electrical cable. The city that he's building on the border with Jordan, 500 billion will be for electricity, renewable energy. And you can bet they will be investing in copper. What oil was for the last 100 years is what copper will be for the next 100. The thing I'm suggesting here to you people is not about making money for 1 or 2 or 5 years. I'm talking about something more profound. Let's look at the nuts and bolts of how these two things correlate to each other. This is the demand for oil. This is what the experts tell us, the IEA and big oil. But when you layer in efficiency, adoption, technology, fuel switching, it's a little bit of a different picture. The question is there demand growth in oil? Here's another forecast. This has all the big oil companies. The problem is, all of a sudden, governments around the world are telling us it's almost not even about the consumer. You will not be allowed to sell a product that is using that old commodity. Oil is very important for the global economy. It will continue to be so. The point I'm trying to illustrate is it a growth? Is it a growth commodity? And the extraction of it, as we know with the shale renaissance, we go to old formations, use new technology, and they take more juice out of the orange. They take more juice out of the orange. These countries here celebrate a high oil price. The rest, Germany, Japan, they don't. They import the product. The difference between these two could not be more different. The very thing that makes it possible to go away from oil and fossil fuels is electrification. Did you know that the world's oil supply comes from 4,700,000 individual wells? 50% of primary copper comes from 25, as my friend Robert Friedland would say, old lady mines. They're old, they're 100 years old. They're tired. How do we fix this? How do we fix this? Motorization, which is over 50% of the world's oil comes from, if you make the internal combustion engine more efficient or you adopt from oil, you use less oil. Does anyone dispute this fact of science? 45% of the world's electricity, particularly in the United States, is consumed by a motor. When you make an electrical motor more efficient, you use more copper. When you adopt into it, you use more copper. There's the demand profile for copper. It grew by 3.5% for 120 years. I'm here to suggest to you that the demand profile for copper will grow by yet more, as much as 5%. There's the supply. Supply will grow at minus 3.5% CAGR. And it's not the will. I was just in Santiago, Chile. Lots of will in Lima, Peru. Chile. It's the money. I'm going to show you in the next 2 minutes why I can't guarantee you the price of copper will go to $5. But I'm going to show you the economics very simply here. We spent $150 billion looking for more copper. We did not find any. We found lots of low grade. The days of 1% copper are over. They are over. Here's why. 40 projects. The copper equivalent grade is the important number you're looking for, the value of a ton of ore. See that? Most things are below 0.5%. The 15 largest copper mines in 2010, they put 1.2% through their mills last year. Well, it's 2016 now, but it was 0.72. This is a ton of copper ore at 1%. At $3 a pound copper, that ton is worth $33. That's all you get to work with. You're not going to recover all of it. You got to pay for things. At 0.5%, that ton of copper ore is worth $33. That is not a business. You cannot build a new copper mine. It's $10 to $14, $15 for processing, $4 to $6, maybe $8 for mining, and then you got to pay it back. At $4 copper, that ton of ore is worth $44. But that's not the future. The future is 0.3. The future of all the big low-grade reserves that could be in production is 0.3. At $5 copper, you can see the margin. Now, I can't guarantee you copper goes to $5 a pound, but what I am suggesting that if we want more copper, the economics have to make sense. Lumina Copper was a very successful strategy in the last cycle. They bought 7 projects, they spun them all off as children. What you're looking at here is the dividend value that Lumina Copper paid. If you invested on day one, there was a return of 80x. That's the torque, the optionality. I've got 9 minutes left. I'm going to give you 4 suggestions and an honorable mention. These are copper stocks that fit many criteria. I don't think there's such a thing as a perfect copper deposit. That is what they call a unicorn, and unicorns don't exist. They all have something about them, but the commonality is the optionality that you have as an investor. Okay? Get your pens handy. The first one is Copper Bank. I'm associated with this company. Many people here know about it. It was a company built by shareholders for shareholders. We IPO'd the company 3 years ago at 10 cents a share. It's currently trading at 11 or 12 cents. And the strategy for Copper Bank was to wait for a normalized copper price. We will take the projects that we acquired that are all situated on private property. They're controlled on a 100% basis. And we want to monetize these assets as single projects. It's a forward-looking statement, but what we're working at doing is creating share dividends, a spin-off share for our shareholders. And we look to do that in the year 2018. Market cap is 22 million. Some technical guy did this chart. He says that it's got a very nice formation ready for a breakout. I don't know. The point is, it's trading at 12 cents a share, and it offers you very good optionality, particularly for something like your TIFSA. But if you wanted to invest in something more mature, something larger in scale, there's two suggestions I have for you. I was just on site. I was in Chile, and NGX, which is a company that has an area in the middle of Chile. Chile's the world's largest producer of copper, and all the big mines are typically in the north or in the south. This is the area called the Maracunga. Exeter was purchased by Goldcorp. In a 40-kilometer area, there is 100 million ounces of gold associated with the copper deposits, not just these guys, but the copper deposits in general. So why do I like NGQ? NGQ spun off Filo. Listen very carefully. A year and a half ago, you got a free Filo share. It was free. That share is currently trading at $2.50. Spin-offs are very good when they're done by the right people. NGQ currently owns 2 projects. These things are giant copper gold projects. It's trading at $1. It used to be $3.50. And here's my tip. 3 and 4 days ago, I was on site with 35 analysts and investors. Now, I'm not a genius, but I'm guessing some of these people are going to be talking about the projects in the coming week or 2 or 3. They get the point, as you say. With Sebastián Piñera elected in Chile, the cross-border relationship that they're trying to enhance between Chile and Argentina, these projects fall within that sphere. So you got optionality, you got the lift in copper prices, and you get, I think, a better understanding with global investors as these reports come out. So I like these stories at this point in the cycle, and they offer a tremendous amount of optionality. I like Lumina Gold. It's a gold company. What am I doing recommending a gold company? It's a copper company. Lumina Gold has 2 established projects in the southern part of Ecuador, and they have it's a copper component. It's a big copper project with a gold kicker, or a gold project with a copper kicker. Look at the share price. What's occurred in the past 6-7 months? Did you know that they doubled their resource? They now have 8.8 million ounces of gold. They doubled it last year. Market didn't pay attention. They have a huge copper component. They've consolidated the area on their easternmost project, and they're about to start drilling on another project that has multi-million ounces of gold. If you're looking for something that's copper related, but anchored by gold, this is a company that I think you should look at. The drill hole play for 2018 is Aston Bay. Aston Bay's trading at 15 cents, and they're going to start drilling one of the most interesting targets, I would suggest, anywhere in the world. It's going to be drilled in Nunavut, and they've done 2 years of science. 2 years of science. One study in particular, they paid $2 million to complete it. This is high-grade copper and zinc. And it's 2 geologists. It's Tom Ulrich, who I work with on Copper Bank, and Dave Broughton. Dave Broughton, his other side job, he works with Robert Friedland on Ivanhoe. He's a specialist in these sediment-hosted deposits. The stock's trading at 13, 14 cents. If they hit, you're looking for something a power of magnitude higher. If they miss, in my opinion, your downside's a couple of 3 pennies. That's the kind of speculation I like. And there's going to be a lot of anticipation. I'm suggesting it in January, but as they start getting the drills mobilized, June, July, August, it's going to be interesting. And I encourage you to talk with other smart geologists about what they've done in the science that's occurred here. But it's a very interesting drill hole play. Honorable mention will be a couple of companies that I've already mentioned before, Electric Metals. The lithium stock that I like is Wealth Minerals. I own it. I've made money on it. I've sold some. I've taken some profit. But I still like it. They've picked up the whole northern portion of the Salar de Atacama. It's had a bit of a pullback. And then for cobalt, Global Energy Metals has now doubled, and they are actively drilling one of their projects. Now, are these the world's greatest cobalt projects? No, they're not. But it's an interesting way to play cobalt if you're looking at having exposure at around 20, 25 cents thereabouts in the cobalt space. My book will be on audible.com in the next 2 or 3 weeks. You're welcome to follow me on Twitter. And if you're not following Copper Bank, if you get on my list, you're more than welcome to get mostly my macro information on copper and energy. We got one question. Time for one question if anyone has a question. Yes? Why don't I change the title of my book to My Electrician Drives a Tesla? Because the electrician knows how electricity works. It's the doctor in the book that buys a Tesla. The Porsche designates how he could quit his day job. That's why. Happy investing, everyone. Have a great show, and I'll see you next year. Thank you.